This is one audacious move, where every week I take one audacious move to become more of the person that I want to be in this life. This week's move wasn't intense or flashy. I wasn't jumping off a cliff. I wasn't on an 18-mile run. No cold plunges. This week I actually sat down, I slowed down, and I wrote some letters. And something in me that I can't quite explain other than saying it was a cry for balance in my life told me to pause. It said, you've been going so hard, you've been dreaming, you've been building, you've been hustling, but you haven't looked up in a while. You haven't looked around. You know when you're so locked in on a goal or working toward your dreams that everything around you just kind of seems to fade. And that's kind of how I felt. Focused, but a little foggy. Purposeful with how I was going through my life, but a little off kilter. And so instead of pushing through, I recognized that in my life and I stopped and I slowed down and I started writing. I wrote letters to the people that I love, not for content, not for show, for no other reason than to tell them that I see you. You matter. You've impacted me and I'm grateful. It wasn't some productivity hack or big goal of mine. It was a recentering, a recalibration, if you will. A reminder that no matter what I build, if I don't keep my heart tethered to the people that I love in my life, then I've already lost. And listen, I'm all about ambition. I think you know that by now. I started this podcast called One Audacious Move. I want to do incredible things with my life, and I know that you do too. But I don't want to do that at the expense of being human, not at the expense of the relationships that I care about, and definitely not at the expense of the small, quiet moments that actually make life rich. And so today's episode is about balance, but not just balance. It's about remembrance, gratitude, about choosing to slow down to recognize and appreciate the people that are walking alongside of you. It's about resisting the pull to be more and better and faster, always, always, always trying to work for something that you're not, and learning instead to just be here and appreciate what I have now and the people that I love. And so with that, let's dive into this week's episode. Well, welcome back to another episode of One Audacious Move. My name is Stanton, if we haven't met before, and if you're watching this, the reason I'm looking down is because I'm marking off another week of my life right here on my Life in Weeks board. It's a sobering reminder of the brevity of life, but also the time that I have left still. And so I love starting off each week's episode with a tiny blurb on this to make myself pause and reflect on one little bubble taken up that week of my life. And you know, I feel like a lot of times, if you do any kind of practice like this on your own, if you're conscious of time moving in your life, typically, if I had to guess, you'd probably be a little bit like me in regards to being goal-oriented, thinking about the future, thinking about where you're at, comparing it to where you want to be, and trying to bridge the gap between that. A lot of times it feels like we put a ton of emphasis on the grind, the goals, the things that we're working toward in our life, the things that require work and audacity in order to fulfill, in order to become a reality, to transform from being just a dream. But I think sometimes we accidentally, unknowingly, and regretfully so, neglect other areas of our life that we care a lot about. You see, in this grind and hustle culture, working toward things, having ambition, fulfilling cultural pressure of how well you should be doing in your job, how quickly you're rising the ranks, how much money you're making. Where are you at compared to other people in your life? Especially over here in this Western hemisphere culture, we got the grind culture, and it's always about what we're doing, what we're working toward. And I just want to make sure as I go through my life, and if I haven't expressed this on the podcast, forgive me, I want to make sure that my life isn't actually consumed with that. While regret and not doing the things that I know I have the power to do in my life semi-haunts me as I go through, thinking about not taking advantage of my own brain, my own power, my own will, my own time. There's a whole other side of things that I need to be paying attention to in my life. And that's where the whole piece of balance comes in. That's where the whole idea of balancing your goals with other things in your life that are important. And honestly, the other things that you're balancing in your life can have goals surrounding them. And so this all sounds a little bit ambiguous, a little bit heady. I'll kind of cut to the nitty-gritty of what I'm saying here is that you can set big goals for your work, but it's also important sometimes to look up actually more often than not, and express gratitude for the things in our life that we already have. That life has given us the blessing of being able to enjoy, being able to have in our life to bring us happiness, to bring us peace, to bring us some sense of fulfillment. And so something this past week that I realized that is really important to me in my life are the people in my life. And I'd prefer to let those people know that I actually care about them outside of grandiose events like weddings or, unfortunately, funerals whenever it's too late. I want to make sure those people know that I care about them and I love them now before it's not too late, while I still have time, while I'm still enjoying them. When I'm in the middle of my journey, just randomly as I'm going through life, I want to make sure that I stop and appreciate and show gratitude to those people for their place in my life and my story, for championing me in my dreams, for pushing me to be a more full version of myself. If it's parents, my parents, they have encouraged me throughout my life. They provided a life where I have a sound mind and a healthy body, and I'm able to exist in this world. I have so much to thank to my parents, to my friends that I've had since college, to new friends that have been pivotal in my journey as I start to get into new ventures in life that champion me in doing the things that I feel called to do in this life. I want to make sure those people know that I care about them. And so this week's episode isn't going to be a super long one. It's going to be more of something that I just want to leave you with as you start your week. Whenever you're listening to this, I want you to reflect on it. And maybe this will be an encouragement to you as you go through your day to stop what you're doing, send a text, stand up from the computer, go tell your wife or your husband or your parents or whoever it is, go give them a hug and just tell them that you love them and you appreciate them. So I got married last July, and for all intents and purposes, I think we all know a wedding is an event that we're planning. And so there's going to be lots of other things around them. There's bridal showers, there's the bachelor party, there's the bachelorette party. And my bachelor party was up in the mountains here in Colorado just a couple of months before the actual wedding, and had a bunch of guys fly out, drive in. We all went up there together. It was a blast, freezing May day here in the Colorado mountains. You would think May would be nice, but May is basically spring, almost winter still up in the mountains. But we had a blast. And it was such a special time where all of these guys throughout different periods of my life all coming together to speak truths into me and encourage me as I step into this new time of my life. And the same thing happened on the wedding day. And I just think about my bachelor party and my wedding day. You think about birthdays, you kind of have a lot of birthdays as you go through. And these are kind of the times in your life where people slow down to appreciate you and let you know the significance that you have in their life, the role that you've played. They say things to you that sometimes you don't know that they're actually feeling, and it's encouraging to hear. And I had the thought after our bachelor party, after the wedding, I said to myself, I was talking to a couple of friends, that I wish we were more prone to just stopping and speaking how we feel about people and to them on a daily basis. I wish that it wasn't always a birthday party or a wedding whenever we'd stop and let people know that we love them. It's an incredibly important thing, I believe, to do in your life. If you love people in your life, you have people that you care about, especially your family, it's really important to balance that with the dreams that you have. And again, I'm not perfect at this. I'm really good at putting my head down and doing a ton of deep work, burying myself in this cave of an office and not coming up for air and kind of blotting out everything in this world. But I do know at the end of my life, if I'm lucky enough to make it to the end of these bubbles on this Life in Weeks board, to 80 or 90 years old, that the things that are going to be left in my life, it's not going to be about money. It's not going to be about YouTube subscribers, Instagram followers, the amount of people that read something I wrote or came to an event that I hosted or listened to my podcast or booked me for weddings. It's going to be about the family that's there at my bedside. It's going to be about the people that are in my life still. And I think sometimes at my age, if you're anywhere near the 30-year-old range in your 20s or late 30s or early 40s or something like that, I think it's easy to not think about death. I think it's easy to not think about the fleetingness of life, that getting in the car and driving to the grocery store could be our last waking moment of consciousness for some sad reason. And as I go through life, I think I said this in last week's episode, I think a lot about, and it's a blessing and a curse, I think a lot about time moving and the brevity of my own life. And so that kind of spurs me on to want to pursue goals in my life, pursue ambitions, to enact the power of what I feel I was given in this life to create and do and love and be. But I also, as I get older, feel like I'm starting to see a new side of what is important in life. And especially after getting married, uh, investing in the people and loving the people and slowing down for the people in your life is paramount. It's incredibly important. And so I want to ask you again, is there somebody in your life that you love? Somebody that you would typically text and be like, hey, happy birthday. I love you. So thankful to call you a friend. I'm so glad you're my sister. You're the best brother in the world, that kind of thing. What if you stopped today and just sent that text? You sent an audio message, you FaceTime them and just said, hey, I was thinking about you and I love you. How do you express your love? For me, it's writing. I like to write and I can express my words really well, much better than I can speaking whenever I'm writing. So I slowed down to write letters to the people in my life and sending those out here in the next couple of days. But I just wanted to take a second and, as if it was their wedding, as if it was their birthday, as if I was at the top of some mountain peak of success or something, to slow down and thank them. Because the truth is, what a mountaintop it is to even be alive. How beautiful is it for us to realize that we have the ability to love and also pursue dreams and goals in this life? The more that you realize how beautiful it is to even exist, the more grateful I think I become as I go through life, and you'll become as you slow down to start to think about the fact that time is passing. And I'm such an advocate for this life in weeks board. It really makes you stop and think that that's a bubble in your life that you'll never get back. And I hope that you did your damnedest to live that as fully as you can, because you're doing yourself a disservice if you just blasé through that week, if you didn't give it your all, if you didn't give your people your all, if you didn't balance between the things that you already have in your life, the things that are beautiful, the things that maybe don't have all the shine around them, the audacious, the audacity, bold risk kind of things. You balance those with your dreams and with your ambitions. Did you do that this past week? If not, guess what? You can now. It's always an amazing time to start doing those kinds of things. And something that I expressed early on in starting this podcast is a journey for me. One audacious move is an encouragement to me to expedite and cut off the fat of the in-between time that I'd be sitting around and doing nothing and coasting through life, and take those moves every single week. And it doesn't have to be cliff jumping every week. It doesn't have to be going out and getting 1,000 no's in Denver, Colorado to train myself to be able to withstand rejection, to go and do these big things, reach out to big people. Audacity is literally just doing something that I normally wouldn't do. Typically, that's a bold risk, getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of the muck of the comfort of your head that is actually self-destructive sometimes, and doing the thing that I know I need to do, that when I look back on my life, if I'm lucky enough to have old age one day, that I'll have looked back and said, I used my time wisely here on earth. Well done, faithful steward of the life that was given to you. I hope I can say that to myself when I get to the end of my life. And so maybe today for you, just like for me, is a little bit of a recalibration. Maybe you're listening to this podcast because you're one of my friends and you're supporting me. Thanks for that. Maybe you found this on Spotify search. Maybe you're listening to this to find some encouragement to kind of find it within yourself to start taking more audacious, bold risk. Or maybe you're listening to this because we're very like-minded and you're goal-oriented. You love pushing yourself and taking those audacious moves. And regardless of which of those bins you fall into, I would love for you to view this week's episode, this time that you're listening to me right now, that you're living in your own life, that you're present to what's happening right now in your life, as a recalibration. Maybe just for right now, maybe just for an hour, maybe just for today, maybe just for this week. However long you feel comfortable enough giving space to slowing down and thinking about, how can I take stock of my life? How can I take seriously this time that I'm given, this love that I'm capable of showing, this power within me to enact change in my life, to fulfill the dreams that I have? That's no excuse keeping me back other than the ones that I'm telling myself. Maybe right now is when you recalibrate and think about balancing your life better than you are. Is work taking up too much of your life? Do you feel drained? Do you feel like you don't have energy to spend time with your husband or wife or your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your parents or your friends or whatever it might be? Do you feel like your energy is allocated in areas that you don't want it to be? Because honestly, too, on the flip side of the coin, this little rabbit trail here, sometimes your energy can be allocated too much, sometimes into the things with people that you don't want it to be allocated with. And what I mean by that very convoluted statement is you don't have to spend time with people that you don't feel like give you energy, that you don't resonate with, that you don't truly, in your inner knowing, the truth of how you feel, love, that add to your life, that support you, that are worth your energy. I'm not saying to just go out and just give all your time to people, because your purpose in this life is also incredibly important for you to take seriously and not just throw to the wayside for everybody around you. The most powerful thing you can do is to make sure that anytime that you go to be around other people, or that you show up for your family or your wife, or you go to hang out with your friends, is to make sure that you are true to yourself, that when you get out of the car, when you're coming back from work, or whenever you show up to hang out with your friends, that you're doing it because it's something that you truly feel like you want to be doing, that you can give 100% of yourself to, that you can really stop and be present with those people without any kind of angst of, oh, well, I really feel like I should be doing this. This is dragging on. I kind of wish I would have said no to this because I really need to be doing this other thing. That's a sign that you're unaligned with your time and there's an energy imbalance in your life. And so I know this is a rabbit trail, but I just wanted to clarify from my perspective that while stopping and realizing the importance of people in your life, it doesn't mean that you have to give your energy at the expense of your dreams for those people. There's this beautiful thing called balance, and it's not black, it's not white, it's gray. And I don't have the answer for how to find that. But by slowing down every day, every week, and taking stock of our life, taking stock of what drains our energy, what gives us energy, what do we get excited about in life? What do we find ourselves longing to do, longing to spend more time with that certain person? These are all clues of what we should be doing with our life. And that's my encouragement to you. Don't feel guilted by your culture or familial pressure or friends that are successful to go and do dreams to a capacity that doesn't resonate with you. And don't feel pressure to go and hang out with people that don't give energy to you, or during a time where you don't have the energy. Maybe the people you resonate with and love, but you just don't have the energy to do it in the capacity that they want you to. And so my hope with these episodes of One Audacious Move is to just, if it even is for 1 second, if there's one person out there that stops and reflects on where you're at in life and what you could do now to enhance it. That's what Audacity is. It enhances your life. It's the unraveling of your true self. We take bold risk for the things that are true to us. Why else would we be taking a risk if it wasn't going to be in the pursuit of making ourselves more full? That's what I hope that you stop to think about this week. What's one audacious move you can take to let the people in your life know that you love them? To stop for no other reason than that you're alive and they're alive, and now is a perfect time to take advantage of that. Guys, thanks so much for watching this week's episode of One Audacious Move. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I would be so appreciative if you'd send this to a friend, or share this on Instagram, or just DM me and let me know how you felt about the episode. A 5-star review really helps me out in the Spotify algorithm, or wherever you're listening to this. I really appreciate you being here. Hey, this last week was all about balancing and loving the people in my life, giving my time to letting them know, regardless of what's going on, that I love them, and letting them know exactly what I love about them and why I care about them. This week's Audacious Move is about looking at a goal that I've set in the past and I've let die because of a million other reasons, of noise, of distraction, of getting too busy to do that thing that I told myself I was going to do. Not letting it stay dead, but unburying that goal and making sure that I do it now. That now is a great time to be doing that, regardless of the fact that I failed and didn't do it when I said I would. So that's what I'm going to be starting to do this week. Join me in doing something similar. Join me in letting the people in your life know that you love them. It's incredibly important. Balance is the most important thing that we could be working toward in our life, between the things that we love and the things that we're going for. The present versus the future version of ourselves. Giving our all to right now, to the people, to the beauty that we have in our life. Expressing gratitude. I hope you go out and do that this week. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I'll see you next week.